First off, the June jobs numbers revealed 600,000 private sector jobs created, but the country lost 11 million. At the Social Forum recently, I heard an estimate that there's enough unemployed in the U.S. today that if they stood shoulder to shoulder, they'd stretch from Maine to Marin and back. So what's going to happen? And is the labor movement ready to lead? What's the plan, Sam? We'll ask Bill Fletcher, co-founder of the Center for Labor Renewal, after this.
But working Americans from the public and private sector alike have never been more strongly challenged than they are right now. And the theme of this convention, ready to fight, ready to lead, couldn't be more timely. And since the Bush recession started in 2007, we have 11 million jobs that we've lost. And even those who are fortunate enough to be working are living in fear of pink slips and givebacks and hollowed out health care and foreclosures and pension freezes. And in the midst of all of these social and economic problems, state and local governments are closing or cutting back the very facilities that America needs most.
Well, AFL leader Richard Trumka's speech there at AFSCME a week or so ago couldn't be more pertinent to our conversation. With me, Bill Fletcher, author of Solidarity Divided. I mean, look at it, Bill. Look at that scenario. A great speech from Trumka, fired up, ready to go, but he's speaking to public sector workers who are about to feel the hammer come down with the GOP refusal to extend unemployment benefits and pass the jobs bill. It really raises the question, whatever the wishes of the labor movement, what really is their leverage at this point?
Laura, the leverage is organization. If the union movement is prepared to take some bold steps. I mean, as you said, public sector workers, whether federal, county, state, municipal, are all under assault by the political right at this point. And so there's two things that the unions need to be thinking about. One is responding to this assault and really convincing people that, once again, that we need a public sector, which one would have thought that people would have gotten, particularly after the collapse of 2008. But the second thing is that we've got to fight for jobs. And the individual unions are not stepping up to the plate to organize the unemployed. I mean, at best, they are addressing the needs of their particular members. We need the AFL-CIO. We need central labor councils that bring together different unions to pool their resources and start organizing the unemployed.
Well, let's talk about it, because the president, and we'll play a clip, every time the job numbers come out, finds something to sound positive about. But where there is job creation, as I mentioned at the top, it's in the private sector. I'm curious about the power of some of those local unions to actually reach out, grow membership in that sector, because that's where the lag is. Here's Barack Obama.
The Departments of Commerce and Agriculture will invest in 66 new projects across America that will finally bring reliable broadband internet service to communities that currently have little or no access. In the short term, we expect these projects to create about 5,000 construction and installation jobs around the country. And once we emerge from the immediate crisis, the long-term economic gains to communities that have been left behind in a digital age will be immeasurable.
So he's talking about 5,000 jobs from broadband. Sounds good, but there's no guarantee, of course, those will be union jobs.
Right, but I think what's more central, Laura, is that this job growth is only going to happen if there's a further stimulus, if there's more money put in by the public sector in priming the pump and moving the economy. This is what noted economists like Paul Krugman have been saying, and many others, the Economic Policy Institute. The problem is that you have these deficit hawks, including within the Democratic Party, that are so afraid of this issue of the deficit and so afraid of the way that the Tea Party idiots have framed this matter that they are balking when they need to be going forward and taking some risks. And that will only happen, in my opinion, Laura, if the union movement stays on their case.
Well, picking up on your point, Bill, I mean, why are people scared or intimidated by people like Sharon Angle who talk about workers in this country being spoiled? Surely the mass of Americans don't feel that they're spoiled when they're out of a job and looking for one through no fault of their own. Isn't this a time to kind of fire up and get going?
This is the time. I mean, absolutely. But it's like, what I found often, Laura, is that in the top echelons of organized labor, too many of them they're misreading the polls. They're not paying attention to their base. They're not paying attention to the people that elected the Obama administration and the desires and concerns that they have. And they are so afraid that this wave that came out of the Tea Party is going to sweep them away. I mean, what's amazing, Laura, you and I both were at the U.S. Social Forum. There was something like 15 to 20,000 people that were there in Detroit. And that got almost no coverage in the mainstream media. You get 15 Tea Party people together, and everybody is ready to fall over themselves. This is the time that we need more than speeches. Trump gives a great speech. He is one of the best, most eloquent labor leaders we have. But it's simply not enough. It's not enough to have the speeches. It's not enough for him to be firing people up at a convention or otherwise, and then they just simply walk away. This is the time for action. I mean, if the media wasn't going to pay attention to 20,000 peaceful, very well organized activists in Detroit, in a dying city, then maybe they need to pay attention to 10 or 20,000 active workers who are in the streets who are shutting some of these cities down. We've got to bring attention to the basic fact that there are millions of people out there suffering, that the political right is trying to ignore this, to turn this upside down, to make it appear that the people that are suffering are the ones that are causing the suffering. No, this has got to change. We need a very different expectation from labor leaders.
I understand there are plans quickly for an October 2nd demonstration. Can you give us any information about that? We've got about 30 seconds.
I'm very excited about this. This is the NAACP. Some elements of Change to Win and the AFL-CIO that are coming together to do this. I think it is exactly what we need to do. But Laura, see, here's my problem. That's October 2nd. What happens on August 2nd? What happens on September 2nd? I mean, why aren't we talking about more localized actions where people are raising hell? What are we, you can't just do this once every several months when we're able to bring 500,000 or 1 million people together in Washington, D.C. We've got to have local activity.
All right. Well, I think it's out there. We'll go out and find it and try to stir up more with your help. Bill, thanks so much for joining us. Bill Fletcher from the Center for Labor Renewal, the author of Solidarity Divided. There's more coming up right here. Stay tuned.